Right now, the US government spends more money paying interest on its debt than it spends on its entire military. Not new tanks, not new ships, not new weapons, just interest on money it already owes. Let that sink in for a second. That has never happened before in American history. And it's only one symptom of something much bigger. This morning, you probably checked your bank account. You saw a number and you thought, that's my money. But here's what nobody ever told you. That number isn't the way people understood money for the last 5,000 years. What you're actually looking at is your spot inside the biggest financial experiment ever attempted. Nobody's ever tried this before. Nobody knows for sure how it ends. And you were signed up for it before you were even born. For most of human history, money had to be something real. Gold you could hold, silver you could test, grain you could eat. That wasn't tradition. It's the whole reason anyone trusted money at all. If a king spent too much, eventually his gold ran out and the spending stopped. Then, on August 15, 1971, one man changed that live on television. President Richard Nixon went on TV and, in under 20 minutes, ended the rule that had governed money for thousands of years. From that moment on, the dollar would be backed by nothing physical, just trust. Economists call this fiat currency, money that has value because a government says it does, not because it's backed by anything you can hold. Nobody voted on this, nobody got a say, and almost nobody noticed what had really changed because the part that hits your wallet took years to show up. It's showing up right now. Here's what most people miss. Money backed by nothing real has a track record, and it isn't a good one. Every time in history, a government has had the power to create unlimited money out of thin air. Sooner or later, it's used that power until something broke. We're 55 years into that exact experiment with the dollar. Here's what those 55 years have actually done to your money. Something strange happened to the amount of money in the world. Under the gold standard, the money supply could only grow about as fast as miners could dig gold out of the ground, roughly 1 to 2% a year. That was the speed limit on every economy on Earth. After 1971, that speed limit disappeared. In January 1971, the entire US money supply was about $626 billion. Today, according to the Federal Reserve, it's more than $22 trillion, over 35 times bigger. Here's why that hits you personally. When way more money gets created without way more stuff to buy with it, every dollar you hold quietly becomes worth a little less. That's not a theory. It's why a typical American house cost around $28,000 in 1971 and costs over $400,000 today. Your dollar today buys roughly 85% less than it did back then. You didn't get worse at managing money. Your money got watered down. If that made your stomach drop a little, good. That means you're paying attention. Hit like right now, it costs you nothing, and it's the only reason more people see this. Okay, it gets bigger. Now here's what happened to debt. In 1971, the US government owed about $398 billion. Today, it owes more than $39 trillion, climbing by roughly $3 trillion a year. At that pace, it's on track to cross $40 trillion before the end of this year. Remember that fact from the start of this video? In the most recent full year on record, the government spent more money just paying interest on its debt than it spent on the entire military combined. The cost of owing money beat the cost of national defense for the first time ever. This debt isn't realistically getting paid off. The whole system is built around it growing forever. And here's what most people never connect. Inflation, prices slowly creeping up every year, isn't a malfunction. It's the release valve. Every year prices rise, the government's old debt gets easier to carry because it's paid back in dollars worth less than when it borrowed them. Your savings are quietly doing the work, not through a tax you'd notice, just through the slow shrinking of what your money can buy. And it's not only the dollar. Every major currency on Earth, the euro, the yen, the pound, and is backed by nothing physical, floating purely on trust. The entire global financial system, over $100 trillion a year in economic activity, is running on confidence alone, and confidence has never lasted forever. Here's why this matters right now, not someday. Between 2020 and 2022, the US created roughly $6 trillion in brand new money, about 1 out of every $5 in existence by the end of 2020 had been created that same year. 2 decades worth of normal money creation squeezed into about 24 months. You're feeling the result every time you check out at the grocery store, renew your insurance, or sign a new lease. And now the people in charge are stuck. Let prices keep climbing and keep eating your paycheck, or slow things down hard and risk shaking the same $39 trillion pile of debt they spent 55 years building. There's no painless way out of this, only the question of who pays for it. History shows this doesn't usually fail randomly. It tends to follow a pattern. Governments spend responsibly, then a little more than they should. A crisis hits, they print money to cover it. Another crisis comes, they print more, until printing becomes the automatic answer to everything. People start protecting themselves with gold, real estate, other currencies, or assets no central bank can simply create more of. And eventually, trust breaks. Not slowly, all at once. We've watched this happen before. Germany, in 1923, people pushed wheelbarrows of cash just to buy bread. Zimbabwe, in the 2000s, when prices were doubling roughly every single day. Venezuela, more recently, where families watched a lifetime of savings disappear within months. In every case, people went to sleep with money in the bank and woke up to find it had quietly become worth far less. The dollar is different in one big way. It's backed by the world's largest economy and the most powerful military on the planet. It isn't the same situation Germany or Zimbabwe were in, but being different isn't the same as being immune. No currency backed purely by trust has ever lasted forever. Some have just taken a lot longer to find out. Here's the part almost nobody explains, and it's the part that decides whether you come out of this ahead or behind. This system runs more smoothly when people don't think too hard about it. Most adults alive today never took a single class on how money actually works. Schools only really started requiring personal finance classes in the last couple of years, after decades of skipping the subject entirely. The news report, inflation went up 3% without ever explaining why it goes up at all. The economy gets talked about like it's separate from your money. It isn't. Every new dollar the Federal Reserve creates makes every dollar you already have worth a little less. To be fair, the official reason central banks target steady inflation is to avoid the opposite problem: prices falling and stalling the economy. That's a real explanation. But whatever the intention, the effect on your bank account is the same. Your money is worth a little less next year by design. You don't have a spending problem. You're saving inside a system that quietly takes a small bite every year, whether you notice or not. So here's where you actually stand. You were born into an experiment most people don't know they're part of. The rules of money changed one Sunday evening in 1971, and nobody asked you. Maybe the dollar pulls it off. It has things gold never did: the biggest economy on earth, the strongest military in the world, a financial system too tangled into everything to easily walk away from. Maybe it won't. Either way, understanding the game changes what you do next. Debt is growing faster than the economy supporting it. Interest on that debt now costs more than the entire military. That's not an opinion. That's just the math. You checked your bank account this morning. You saw a number. Now you know that number was never just your money. It's a measurement of exactly where you stand inside the biggest financial experiment in human history. And it keeps running tomorrow, whether you're paying attention or not. So here's a real question. Do you honestly think the dollar makes it another 50 years the way things are going? Put your honest answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if any part of this changed how you look at that number in your bank account, subscribe to Clever Finance. Next video, I'm breaking down the handful of things that have actually kept up with all this money printing, and the one almost everyone gets completely wrong. You don't want to miss that one.